As you can see, we've got the Ranchero up in the air using those trailer jacks. So this is where I'm going to end it for tonight. And then tomorrow after work, I'm going to roll the frame under and start fitting everything together. So I've got the rockers high enough that the wheels and tires will roll under, even at the lowest point right here. And then I'll start to lower this, and we'll most likely be clearancing wheel wells. However, I do have some trailer fenders here that I'll be fitting back here. I already know that the diameter of the tires are going to be higher than what I can use back here, so we'll address that as things progress. Here you can see I've welded in some new metal in the rockers. I did that on both the driver's side and passenger side, as well as put some metal in these rockers as well. So tomorrow I'll come back and we'll roll the frame underneath, see how things go. For reference, I wanted to show you how high I was able to get this up with just these trailer jacks. I'm 5'9"-ish, and you can see the top of the car is at my shoulders. And I believe we got just under 30 inches under the rockers, and the tallest point on, well, the diameter on the frame that's going under is going to be 26.5 inches. So we should be clear to get into place, but as I start to lower the body down onto the frame, I'm going to have to clearance a bunch of this, and I'm fully aware of that. And the same in the back where the wheel wells are. I know these wheel wells are going to have to be significantly changed, so I bought some trailer fenders to weld back in place because these are pretty much getting cut out. But I don't want to do that until I can get down and get this on jack stands under the rockers, because that support is not extremely solid. So next step is to get the frame I gotta air the airbags up and then start rolling this under. Well, I could have cleaned the car off a little bit more, but I'm pretty excited. I've got the frame under and starting to try to do a little bit of a lineup for the wheelbase. And I'm thinking we're looking pretty good, but I'll be lowering this down, lowering the body down. And like I said, I'm gonna be needing to clearance some of these panels to allow it to go down. So I'm gonna work on that as I lower, but I think I'll be able to do some of this just by eyeballing it. So I think I'll get started on that. Definitely gonna need to clearance the firewall. And then back here, it almost looks like the C-notch will clear the wheel wells, but you know, like I mentioned, I'll get this down to where I can put jack stands under the rockers, and then I'll start cutting back here. And I'll probably do something similar up here. I'll clearance as much as I can to where I can get it on jack stands also. I've done a little bit of test fitting, and I needed to go get some 4x4s to lay the frame on, as well as the rockers, because my ride height is going to be 3.5 inches, and that's where I set the pinion angle, is at 3.5 inches. Therefore, I am about to raise the frame. I've already raised the body up a little bit, and I can set the frame and the body on the 4x4s. But one thing I need to do is clearance the firewall just a little bit for the transmission. So I'm going to do that. Up here, I've already clearanced for the control arms, and I think everything's going to fit fine here. There's a slight chance that where the core support comes down to the frame, I might need to make a little adjustment here. So my next move is clearancing the firewall, and then I will be looking at this rear, we'll call it a rear firewall, but I think we're going to be super close on this, so there's a chance I'm going to go just a little bit higher so I can clear the frame rails, and we'll see where we're at after that. So I'll come back once those items are completed. All right, so we're fitting the frame into the body. I'll give you an update where we're at. I've got these 4x4s in place here, and this is the height in which I set the pinion angle. I think I already mentioned that, but what I'm trying to do is get the rockers down on the 4x4 as well as the frame, and you can see, maybe you can see, but anyway, this side's down. I gotta lower this side, but we're gonna have the clearance we need up front. However, here on the rear frame rails, I need to clearance that still. I'm probably going to take it about 1.5 inches. So that'll be my next step. But up here, I made some clearances where the front core support will get past the frame there. Now here's something that you can probably see. I'll move a couple things. So here is a side view, and the hood should run along that same plane. So you can see we've got some clearance issues, which I have an idea. A little bit different than a cowl hood, but I think we can make it work. Yeah, so I'm gonna continue on. Just wanted to give you a progress update as to where we are at this time. Looks like we're good there. Looks like I might need to clearance this up here. That might be why that is not laying down on the frame. So, or on the 4x4. So I'm going to clearance that back wall, and I'll come back. Well, we've gotten to the point where we need to start thinking about body mounts. I've been tossing the idea back and forth as to whether or not I should just weld the frame to the body. I really don't have a good reason not to do that, other than I want to be able to remove the body and separate the body and the frame if I need to in the future. So I've opted to try to come up with actual body mounts. So I bought something today. So the plan is to make the body mounts out of this 3x3 1/8 inch steel tube, and I'll share my plan on how I'm going to do that in just a second. All right, so these are the pieces I cut out. These are 5 inches, and here you can see I cut back 1.25 inches, made a 45. And what we're going to do with these, one is going to go in this orientation on the frame, and then on the body, on the driver's side here, we're going to do something like this. Actually, it's going to be offset about 2 1/8 inches, and then that'll make room for the isolator. So that being said, I've already got this mount welded to the frame, and I'm about to clean this up and get it ready to mount here. And when I get the isolator, I'll cut it to size and get this mounted where I want it on both sides. The front is going to be a little different. I'll need to make an angle bracket for the frame side where it'll go and kick back so I can weld it straight to the frame and make everything square. So that is where we're at the moment. When we come back, I will probably have these for the cab ready and maybe done, and then we'll work on figuring something out back here. I'm definitely going to do something toward the rear, and I'm not real sure. I'm going to do something in this area too. I just want to add the support to make sure we don't have any stability issues any more than we have anyway. All right, here we are the next day. I think I showed you I've got the motor mount, the body mount mounted. Just, it's not temporary, but it's not fully welded in yet. You can see this will be the top mount, and this will be on the rocker side like this. So we need an isolator, and I have this isolator. Now obviously, you know, we're not going to set it up 12 inches from there. I'm going to cut this down into 2.5 inch pieces. This came in just probably like 11 7/8 long. It's supposed to be 12 inches, but I'm going to get that cut down. I'll show you that. Just going to use a regular miter saw to cut it, and hopefully everything goes well there. Then I'm going to go get some hardware so that I can get everything lined up prior to drilling the holes and get it bolted together. But by the end of this evening, I would like to get all 4 of these installed and then that way the body is going to be attached to the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these. I think I may mention 2.5 inch pieces for the isolators. I'll show you what that looks like once I get them cut down and kind of set things in place before I go get the hardware. Alright, so here are the 4 pre-cut, or the pieces I just cut, and take a look here. So essentially we're going to have that, and then I think I may have done the math really close to right. So that's going to be, if you can see here, it's kind of hard. So I know it's kind of dark, but you can see on the left side, that's the frame. On the right side, that's the rocker. And then the isolator right in the middle. So I'm going to measure this and get some hardware. So let's that's what we're gonna do. I'll come back once I've got the hardware. I'll probably get a hole drilled and see how this fits and then go from there. Alright, so let's take a look at where we're at on these body mounts. Here you can see I've got this one welded in, still kind of warm, but that isolator is going to go in like that. And then we have a bolt that will come up to the bottom and then thread in. And over here you can see kind of where we started. We just have the bracket. I've already measured and drilled the holes for that bolt, and then we're going to set the spacer in there and then get this welded in place. I just wanted to show you where we're at and the progress. If you have any questions about how I came up with this, I can go over it, but that'll be it for the rear body mounts. I'll show you those when they're completed, and then we'll get started on the front ones. Well, last night I was able to get the body mounts finished up, and you can see the car is up on its own. Maybe you can see that. So it's going up and down on its own. Now, then one thing I need to address is the clearance in the wheel wells. So when I try to put this all the way down, we're still sticking up about 2 inches in the back. The back's getting caught up. The back tires are hitting up in here. So as you can see here, we have a trailer fender that will be fitted to that wheel well. So I'm probably going to set up a time lapse. I'll get that fender well cut out. I'll come over, get this one cut out, and then we will try to fit these, and hopefully I can fit them from this side. If not, I'll just have to take the wheels off and bring them in from the outside in. These measure about 9.5 inches wide. These I think were around 7 inches. So I'll have to figure out where I want them side to side. Now the nice thing is these came with these filler pieces, and I'm not sure if we'll need them, but if we do, we'll have them. And I think I might end up using these on the front, and you can see the front's leaked off, the air's leaked off, but it doesn't matter as long as the back stays up while we get these wheel wells cut. And if you're doing a project like this and you want these trailer fenders, I'll have a link in the description below so you can find your own. So anyway, we're going to get to cutting. Initially, I was just going to take the grinder and cut these wheel wells basically blindly. But what I decided to do is trace this outer profile, and then I transferred it to this piece of cardboard. And when I did that, I also measured from one side to the other, and then I found center, and I drew that before I cut out that piece. That way I could find the center. And on here, this seam is the center of the axle. So I know that if I put this on here, I should be good as far as getting it centered. And take a look over here. I don't know if you can see the Sharpie mark, but I did have a center mark on that cardboard. I put it on that seam, and then I just kind of centered that arch. And so now I'm going to cut those out with the cutoff wheel on the grinder, and then we should be able to lay out completely flat. I'll test that out as soon as I'm done getting this cut, but just wanted to give you an update on how I did what I just did. Well, I've got the wheel wells cut out. You can see here. Was a little more involved than I initially anticipated, so so it took longer than I anticipated. Next, I'm going to get the trailer fenders fitted in place, and I'll probably get this one tacked in. Over here, I just got to do some cleanup on the cut, and I think clearance just a little bit more material out. But for this side, I'm going to go ahead and get it tacked into place. Here you can see we got out of the garage, aired it up, pushed it out. We'll get a good look at it here. You can see we're pretty much laying rocker. Driveway's a little rounded right there. You can see the engine's going to be sticking out of the hood. I have to figure something out there. But all in all, I'm happy with the fitment. One thing that I could use your guys' help with is the dash, the instrument cluster. I need something that hopefully I can plug into the OBD2 port in order to get my information. I don't know how the speedometer will work. I just don't know how to get those old gauges to work with the new engine and all the new wiring I'm doing. So if anybody's got any ideas there, I'd really like to hear what you got to say there. But for now, I'm going to get this in the garage after I get it cleaned up. It'll go on dollies so I can push it to the side and focus some attention on my daily driver. So